I want to talk to one of the people on the call with Omarosa, Manigault, Newman that was recorded. Lynne Patton joins us now. Lynne, thanks so much for being with us.
Hi,
Really
Anderson.
appreciate it. Haven't seen
Pleasure.
you.
Yes.
Appreciate
nice to
it.
meet you.
So a lot to talk about. First of all, thank you for agreeing to be here. I want to get started with the recording that was released this morning of this phone conversation that allegedly took place, that you were on the call, Katrina Pearson, Omarosa, Manigault, Newman, back in October of 2016. Just for our viewers, I just want to bring them up to date. So let's just play that.
I'm trying to find out at least what context it was used in to help us maybe try to figure out a way to spin it.
I said, well, sir, can you think of any time that this might have happened? And he said no.
Well, that's not true.
He goes, how do you think I should handle it? And I told him exactly what you just said, Omarosa, which is, well, it depends on what scenario you're talking about. And he said, well, why don't you just go ahead and put it to bed? I don't know what the scandal is. No, he said it. He's embarrassed.
Okay, so that's the tape that released. Is, as far as you remember, is that recording accurate? That's your voice on the tape?
Well, you know, Anderson, there were a lot of times that we talked about this tape because Omarosa was literally obsessed with it. She brought it up constantly. It's clear now that the reason why she did was because she was surreptitiously recording us.
You feel this all along, she was intentionally bringing this up?
Absolutely. In fact, a friend of mine reminded me today that early on in the campaign, I made a joke that she was probably recording us all. From the very beginning, you know, Omarosa has always been about Omarosa, and that has never been a secret to us.
You said in a statement that you were probably the closest person to her in the White House, that you interacted with her pretty much on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, what she's done is heartbreaking. It's infuriating. There's a whole bunch of adjectives I could use.
Did you ever raise concerns about her? Because obviously anybody who's watched The Apprentice or seen her on any TV show knows what she, you know, is potentially capable.
Well, you know, let's be clear. Omarosa is an actress, and that's exactly what she's doing right now, is playing a role. And quite frankly, she's playing us all.
But did you ever raise concerns to people in the White House, to Eric Trump, who you worked with, or anybody in the Trump family? That, why has she been hired?
Well, you know, here's the thing. Omarosa is somebody who has always been at the center of attention. She has been willfully and deceitfully engaging in surreptitious behavior. The reason why I never said anything is because I didn't work with her. I worked at HUD. She worked in the White House.
But you did say in your own statement that you worked more closely with her than anybody else in the White House, and that you talked to her pretty much every day.
What I said was I was probably the closest confidant that she had. We texted multiple times a day. She told me what was going on at the White House.
So you never raised concerns about her?
But no, I did not.
Okay. So in that recording...
I mean, I don't speak for Omarosa. I speak for myself.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
You know, who this administration chooses to hire is obviously up to them.
Did you think it was a mistake when you heard she'd been hired?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Why?
Well, because, I mean...
You said she's always been out for herself.
Well, again, I know that Omarosa, the one that I know on television, has been out for herself. The one that I got to know as a friend was actually a decent person. Obviously, President Trump thought so. She was very close to the family at one point. But what's clear to me right now is that Omarosa is obviously putting herself first. We've been through a lot. But, you know, here she is now turning on a family that obviously embraced her and a man that gave her every opportunity.
So let me ask you, because last night you released a statement before this recording was released, right when it was only Omarosa's word about this conversation. You released a statement that read in part, "At no time did I participate in a conference call with Katrina Pearson advising me, Jason Miller, and Omarosa Manigault Newman that Frank Luntz had heard President Donald J. Trump use a derogatory racial term, a claim that Luntz himself has also denied." We just heard you on that phone conversation. So last night you said it didn't take place.
Well, no. Let me clarify, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here.
Okay.
The world of politics might be deceitful, but I am not. And so that's why it was important for me to be here today and clarify my statement. What I said was, and what was refuted was that Katrina set up a conference call that confirmed that Frank Luntz said that he heard DJT specifically say the N-word. That never happened. What did happen, though, is that Omarosa has been allowed to continue on her tour of lies without being checked by either the media or obviously her book publisher.
But that's not, I mean, when you made that statement last night, the only thing that had been released by CBS was a tweet saying that Katrina Pearson, in the conversation, Katrina Pearson says, okay, well, Frank Luntz knows what it is, apparently heard it. So
well, that's not true, because Omarosa then reiterated those statements on both Savannah Guthrie and Chuck Todd. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I was disputing. What I was refuting was the fact that Omarosa claimed that we confirmed that on that conference call that Frank Luntz said this.
Okay.
He's obviously come out and denied it. We've obviously come out and denied it. So what I have a hard time understanding is why, this administration has found itself on the defensive end against a woman who has willfully and deceitfully and surreptitiously recorded, possibly even engaged in illegal behavior, against a family, like I said, that has embraced her. But yet I'm the one on television having to explain myself. I mean, it's like the Twilight Zone. Even on the way over here, I heard that she might be working in conjunction with Robert Mueller. And while I might have only gone to law school for a year, I caught her myself in 4 lies this morning. So, if the Mueller team considers her a credible source of information, then their case is obviously a lot weaker than we already knew it to be.
So Katrina Pearson, we hear her on the tape saying he said it, he's embarrassed by it, talking about then candidate Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, when you heard that in that conversation, what did you think Katrina Pearson meant by that? Because to an observer, whether you hear it on the recording or just the transcript, he said it, he's embarrassed by it. It sounds like Katrina Pearson is saying.
Well, obviously, Katrina Pearson can speak for herself, and she's already released a statement to that effect.
Right. She said she was just trying to get Omarosa
That's right.
off the
We've
front.
all had that annoying coworker who goes on and on and on.
Did you feel that, though, during the I'm asking you, when you were in that conversation?
I think, if anything, what Omarosa's tapes prove is that the president denied ever saying it very early on in the campaign, and that, he said it to me.
Right.
I'm the one who delivered the message.
And I want to ask you about that specifically. Mm-hmm. But my only question is, because what we haven't heard from you, we've heard from Katrina Pearson.
Right.
Let me just play what she said about
Sure.
he said it, and then let's just play that.
In the book, Omarosa says Katrina had heard from her sources that the tape was of Trump using the N-word. Someone she knew, who knew political strategist Frank Luntz, told her that Luntz had heard it. Lynne, as in Lynne Patton, a longtime Trump aide, reported she asked Trump about it on the plane, specifically whether it was possible such a tape might exist, and he said no. Then Katrina, asked him what he wanted her to do, and he said, put it to bed. Katrina cursed and said, he said it. Did that happen?
No, Ed, that did not happen. It sounds like she's writing a script for a movie. I've already been out there talking about this. That is absolutely not true.
So that was before the tape was released. The tape actually does back up what Ed Henry's question is. So, I mean, she said it didn't happen, but it did actually happen.
Well, again, Katrina said she was placating somebody who was obviously
no, but she said the conversation
on a mission.
Didn't happen.
No, what we said, again, is that what didn't happen is we did not have a conference call confirming that Luntz said the N-word or heard Donald Trump say the N-word. What these tapes do confirm is the fact that Donald Trump, again, denied that he used this derogatory term very early on in the campaign. He's obviously been very clear on Twitter. He's obviously said that this is not a word that's in his vocabulary. He told me as an individual that he did not say this word.
When he said to you, put it to bed, what did that mean?
Well, it just meant get rid of the rumors. I mean, if I started a rumor about you tomorrow, I mean, that would be annoying, especially if you knew it not to be true. So, what he meant by that is that, this is something that really it can't be tolerated.
It sounds to me, though, and again, you're not speaking for Katrina Pearson, but last night when Ed Henry is asking her about this conversation, she says it didn't happen. She wasn't specifically saying, well, Frank Luntz never confirmed it. That wasn't in the conversation.
I can only speak to what I know is true. And Katrina said she was placating this woman. I said that we had a conference call, but not about what Omarosa claimed it to be. I've been very clear about that. Okay. What hasn't happened is that Omarosa has not been clear about when she heard this tape. She told me she heard about it.
Multiple stories on this.
Thank you. Last December, she told other sources she heard about it as far back as October. I would not know the details that I know about this tape if she had not told me herself.
Let me ask you.
And why the media refuses to kind of take to task and pick apart her statement as they do ours.
Right.
I
think
really,
she's being picked apart. I mean, I think
well,
everybody. I mean,
know.
we're raising questions whether she even talked to Mueller. We don't know that for a fact. You know, we only have her word on it, which, as you know,
right.
Viewers can make up their own mind. Last night, or in a statement, you also said that Omarosa called you the night she was fired. She didn't disclose to you that she'd been fired. She said she was resigning.
She said she was resigning because she specifically heard the Apprentice tape, right, and that she was resigning and that I should resign as well, and even give Secretary Carson a heads up too.
Because you work at HUD.
Right.
The next day, you said that you talked to communications officials, senior communications officials, and a Trump family member about it. Can you say who you talked to and what was their reaction?
Well, sure. I mean, Hope Hicks was involved. Obviously, I spoke to Laura Trump. She's one of my best friends. I let them know that this is what Omarosa was claiming.
And they told you she had been fired?
Well, I can't really recall exactly when that came to light, but I believe that's probably the case. If you remember, Omarosa had been allowed to stay at the White House for a period of time. It was her plan to always tell people that she had resigned, even though that obviously was not the case. So when she told me she resigned, she felt that was a lie she could perpetuate.
You know the president well. You've worked for the organization for a long time before you were working in government. Sarah Sanders today says she couldn't guarantee there's no recording out there of the president using the N-word. Can you guarantee there's no tape out there?
Well, look, you know, the White House is a diverse group of folks. Obviously, the president, I can't speak for him. I know that he's told me that he has never said this word, that it's not in his vocabulary. I take him at his word.
As someone who's worked for him for a long time, would it shock you if he had said
Absolutely. The Donald Trump that I know doesn't see black and white. He sees success and failure.
So
and whether that manifests itself as a person, a company, a place, you know, a television show, he certainly makes no distinction, and he doesn't categorize those successes and failures into race, religion, and gender.
When he referred to Omarosa Manigault Newman, who was a senior advisor, very highly paid by taxpayer money, as a dog, was that appropriate?
Well, look, you know, the president has referred to a lot of people as dogs. He referred to Robert Pattinson as a dog from the Twilight movies, Mitt Romney, Bill Maher.
Ted Cruz, I believe.
Right, Ted Cruz. To me, these aren't terms that are necessarily derogatory or racial. What they are is somebody biting back and fighting back at having been wrong.
I mean, it is derogatory to call somebody a dog.
Well, I mean, you know,
I'm not saying. I mean, it's an insult. It's not a kind word.
I know he didn't mean it as a compliment, but at the same time, he said it to a lot of people.
So
for the media to spin it into something racial is really.
Well, I don't think it's media. I think it's a lot of people raising the question, given what he just said about
again,
LeBron
I've
James
just listed like 5 white men who he's also said it to, and that's not racist.
But just for the president of the United States, with all the honor and stature and importance of that office, do you think it's appropriate for the President of the United States
to call
anybody?
I think the American people voted for somebody who speaks their mind. I've been with him for almost 10 years. Arguably saying what he thinks and what he feels has resulted in a lot of success for him. One could say it's what put him at 1600 Pennsylvania.
Help me understand.
And I think the American people would rather have somebody who speaks their mind than has somebody who runs a sentence past 80 people.
Help me understand, because again, you've worked for the Trump organization, you know it inside and out. The president during the campaign said he hires the best people. He hires the best people, said it over and over again, and it was a very effective part of his campaign. Is Omarosa Manigault Newman, was she one of the best people, really?
Well, look, I mean, Omarosa Manigault has in her own right been very successful from given where she came from.
Well, I mean, according to the president, she was fired from 3 reality shows.
She's attributed all of that to the president. You know, from the time she grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, she actually took me to her hometown, took the whole women's tour.
Right, but is she one of the best and brightest to be hired in the White House?
She's worked in the White House before. Ask Clinton, did he think she was one of the best? He hired her.
So how do you reconcile if she's one of the best to be hired with now she's a dog and she's crazed and she's a crying lowlife and
what she is obviously a disgruntled employee. So, you know, and fame and power have weird and different reactions to in different people. You know, obviously we're seeing that in a lot of cases. But, you know, for me, I can only say what I know. And what I know is that this family gives people second chances. And I'm a perfect example of that. And the president gave Omarosa a second chance, a third chance, and a fourth chance. And now she has none left.